Welcome to Broadway Corner with Ashley Ha, where you can hear your favorite performers talk about how they got started, their careers, and everything in between. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Spotify at Broadway Corner with Ashley Ha, and on my main Broadway account at Broadway_Corner on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoy. Hi everyone, welcome back to Broadway Corner with Ashley Ha. I am so happy you're here, and today we're back with the third Here Lies Love episode. It's been, day after day. We just want to highlight this incredible cast. And today on the podcast, we are talking with a very special person, and he has pretty much one of the best smiles on Broadway. It is Timothy Matthew Flores.
Yes, so
Hi
much
Tim,
of
welcome.
that is an intro. Let me just tell
Yeah, and I'm like, we have to. I mean, you're always smiling, you're always so positive, and I love that about you. And I just can't wait to talk about you, your journey with Here Lies Love as a performer, all the great things that you've done. So, a little bit about, what you've done in the past, your credits. So, you're a Jersey boy through and through, and Timothy is making his Broadway debut in Here Lies Love in the ensemble and also as Beni Aquino. He was in the national tour of the Lincoln Center Theater revival of The King and I, and some of his regional credits include The Prom, Newsies, and Beauty and the Beast, which I love literally all of those shows. So obviously, that's amazing. So hi Tim, how are you? It's so nice to see you again.
I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here. I this is literally, I know it seems wild sauce, but I love Broadway podcasts. I'm such a nerd and I will not stop listening to them. And it's just crazy. I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to have you. And so first let's talk about, you. Where did you grow up? What's your background? Where'd you go to school and when did you discover theater?
Yes. Okay. So I was born in Brooklyn, so not too far from here. I moved to California for like a couple years of my life, but then I moved
Oh,
back.
I'm in California, so
Oh my gosh. I think parents we moved to, do you know Pasadena
yes, of
area?
course. Yeah.
Yeah, so I lived there for a hot second of my life, but I moved back here when I was maybe like 4 years old. So through like I lived in the same place mostly my entire life, and I don't regret it for one bit. The best part about New Jersey is that it's nearby New York, so I still got all of my fun experiences in New York City and discovering theater at a very young age. And fun fact, my first Broadway show I ever saw was Les Mis when I was 7 or 8 years old.
That's
And
a
guess who
long one. That's a long one for a 7 or 8 year old.
after
Wait,
Les,
did you say you fell asleep? Wait.
yeah, I sleep. And guess who was our Fontaine? Miss Leia Salonga
Oh
herself.
my gosh. Of course. Of course. Like it had to be.
Yeah, I did fall asleep. And when I told her that, she said, I don't blame you. It's very so it's really crazy, and I'm making my Broadway debut in the same theater as her. It's pretty hilarious. It's just like, I mean, it's meaningful and funny at the same time that I fell asleep during her show. First time I met her. And like, yeah, growing up, I was always just so interested in theater. Like my sister used to dance and do shows, and like that used to be the highlight of my my childhood. Honestly, she's not a performer anymore, but she really like shaped my love for like performing. And once I made my middle school debut in Godspell Junior,
Oh.
that's that changed. And yeah, I love musicals ever since, and I just had the same for the rest of my life. So, and here I am, and it's crazy to really think about it.
Yeah, I mean, you're so young. You've been on a national tour of like a crazy popular show for everyone, and then now you're finally, you're playing Filipino because you are Filipino, in a new Broadway show instead of just a, revival. You've done different things like established productions, which again is so so cool. So when did you first get involved with Here Lies Love? Because I know some people answered the open call, maybe some people were a part of it, 10 years ago if they were, but what was your exact like audition process, I guess?
Yeah, so my audition process was pretty memorable. The first time I ever heard about Here Lies Love was way back when I was a freshman in college, I believe. I think that was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. My voice teacher at the time was like, "Oh yeah, I heard about this show, Here Lies Love. It's a really cool show. Like you should keep an eye on it. You never know when it might come to Broadway." And I remember getting that email being like, "That's hilarious." Like at that time, much representation for people like me or people that looked like me on Broadway. And I was just thinking like, wow, maybe in 5 years it'll change, or maybe in 20 years it'll change, but who knows if I ever will be in it. And the day years later, this past January, when the casting notice went out, I got like maybe 10 texts from different friends saying, "This is your Broadway debut." And I
Oh,
said, I can't, this is so crazy. Like, I remember this show, but I don't remember the show. Like, I wasn't able to like see the show back when it was at the public, or I never got to see it in Seattle. But specifically remembering that reading about it, I was like, this is very special. This seems like something that I can really do and perhaps be part of. And I remember that those were the craziest 20 days of my life. Audition, like the craziest 20 days of auditions of my
yeah,
life.
I know I've heard people have said it was like intense going in like every day or like
Yeah, they were fast too. Usually for some Broadway shows, it's like months and months and months of auditions. And I got the call 20 days later after my first audition.
Oh my God.
So it's very different for a lot of people. And it's just very surreal. And I did manifest it. So kids, if you're listening, manifest.
Yeah.
Manifest.
Yeah, and how did you manifest it specifically? Like just think it just let's talk about that because I mean that seems like, very, very good story.
Very, sorry, very important. So I am like the master manifester in my family and my friends.
Uh-huh.
Um, I said I forgot. I remember it was around like 2018 or 2019, and the number 23 was coming towards me, and I like didn't know what it meant. I was just like 23, like whether I'm 23 years old or whether it's the year 2023 or the 23rd week of the 23rd, whatever. I'm gonna make my Broadway debut. Right? So I turned 23. It didn't happen because of because of COVID, which is totally fine.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I remember on the first, oh, wait, when was it? Oh, January 23rd, 2023. I got the audition notice.
Oh my gosh.
Here Lies Love. My first audition was supposed to be February 6th, which is 2/6. But
Mm.
then something happened with casting that they changed it to 2/3, like the 3rd February. So I was like, oh my God, 2/3, 2/3. And then I got the call February 23rd, 2023.
Okay. Yeah, like that everything really, really lined up for you.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
oh my gosh,
really.
I can't believe you thought of that like so many years, years ago, and then now it's like fully just coming to fruition and really coming true. I mean, that's crazy. You hear about like all those kinds of manifestation, or people always saying like manifest what you want, but you really did.
I will tell anyone any day, as young as you are, as old as you think you are, always manifest your dreams and just like don't ever give up. Really, honestly, I just thought it was just so funny. When I got that call, it was like 7 p.m. at night, and I was like, oh, it won't be on the 23rd. And then it ended up being on the 23rd of 2023.
Yeah, again, to everyone out there, just manifest what you want, and if you're like Tim, it'll come true. Um, and for you, do you have a favorite like number to perform? Because I mean, you're just, you're in your ensemble track. You don't understudy anyone specifically. You're just kind of like set in your in your track. So like, what is your favorite part of the show? Whether it be like if you're back in the mezz, or if you're like really close on the floor to people, or what is your favorite moment?
Yes, so I have my favorite moment to perform would probably have to be Child of the Philippines. I know you've seen the show many a time,
Well, just
and
episode twice, yeah.
well, you
Yeah.
need to see it back, right? You'll come back, of
No, I'm
course.
really hoping, yeah.
Um, Child of the Philippines is lives my everyday boy band dream. I love that number so much. It's so condensed within the blender. And if you haven't seen the blenders, like this like really cool runway that like gets to move around during the show, and everyone's just like looking at that one spot, and we're just the bunch of the ensemble members were just having so much fun. And another favorite part of mine would probably have to be the line dance in the mezzanine for 11 days.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really fun because it's the first time people are in the mezzanine are sort of getting up to dance, and I get to be right there in front of them. So that's really fun. And my favorite part to watch would have to be watching Here Lies Love. I love that number with the umbrellas,
Yes,
and
I know. I love it so much. Yeah.
art was just so beautiful, and the choreography is just so simple. And I think about it every day, and I get to experience it every day. So that's so
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah. I know I keep watching like the clips on YouTube that, on the press clips or whatever. I'm just like watching it every day, wishing I could be in the room all the time. But yeah, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, Child of the Philippines. I freaking love that number so much because it's just like, it's fun, first of all. And then Nino is also saying like a bunch of important stuff, but like the guys on the side are just like, everyone's just kind of hanging out, like jamming and vibing to the music.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, I totally understand what you mean. I'm like, that number is so much fun. And yeah, I mean, I didn't really notice it, but like, yeah, it is really condensed and just everyone's looking at that one thing instead of everyone looking around all the time at everything.
Yeah.
And
That's
so,
just I really,
yeah.
and especially just being a Filipino boy with a bunch of other Filipino people around me, performers who love what they do, just being able to say I am a child of the Philippines. For like saying that, like, ooh, it's just so it means so much to me, and it's just so much fun. Like everyone is having a good time during that number, so
Yeah,
it's
no,
fun.
yes, no, totally. I mean, I don't think that's ever been said on Broadway before. I am of some Filipino people saying they are children of the Philippines. Like, I don't think that's ever happened before. So again, that's just so special and so important. And do you have a favorite costume that you wear? Because there's definitely a lot of fun costumes
Uh,
in the show, but what is your favorite?
okay, I'm gonna say it's not the most. I mean, of course, the Goldie costume of us as golds. I don't know if I can say the Goldies. We'll say Goldies on the side platforms for dancing. That's really fun because we get really fun. We wear like a cool headpiece with like a mask and like this beautiful like gold cape, and it just like
Yeah,
feels own. But honestly, this isn't really the most like extravagant costume, but it's a costume I would wear, like my Benny costume,
yeah.
like my striped t-shirt and denim. Like I can literally walk out the building and people just think I'm getting coffee the next door, you know? Um, like that costume. And honestly, the suits are really stretchy and really like comfortable. Those are honestly really fun to do. And since you've seen the show, we like run around in those suits, and we all look so sleek and fly in them. So I really love those as well.
I'm glad that they're comfortable because I'm like, if those were stiff, I don't even know
No,
how you would, I don't know how you would do that show. I don't know how you would dance or like do
no,
anything in them because like suits are so like constricting. But I'm glad that you guys are comfortable and
yeah.
are able to, you do all the things that the show requires because it's really intense. And again, so much fun. And what is something, since this is your Broadway debut, what is something about Broadway that you didn't really know until you were on Broadway?
For sure. I think the number one thing that really sort of changed my perspective on the process of things was definitely the preview process. I have never been through the idea of performing a show at night and changing it during the day after like 5, 6 hours of rehearsal and then doing it again the next day. And that schedule really made me like take a step back and be like, "Woo, we are putting something on that is major. We
Yeah.
are putting on that is really important to people, and we are putting something on that takes a lot of time and effort to perfect to see what that final product is." And as exhausting as it was, and as like as intricate as it was, and every single piece changing, putting on the show after opening it just it shows the journey that you've really been through, and like what beautiful piece we've made together. Like the camaraderie of it all really makes it special, and the time put in and the lack of sleep was all worth it. That's something that I really is to really take care of yourself, and really take those moments to yourself to rest and do other things that you love, and that'll help you become more well balanced in order for you to get through the show during the week.
Yeah, I
So
know previews are intense. I mean, I saw one of like the week leading up to opening, I saw Tuesday, open Thursday. And yeah, I was like still obviously still in the preview process. I mean, because I remember seeing like the first curtain call video online where they did do the Here Lies Love like reprise at the end. And then I was like there at the show and I was like, oh, they cut that out. Like I didn't know that they had cut that. And I think I do think it was a good choice to, cut it
Mhm.
out and like really leave it on God Draw Straight. I'm like, that is definitely a good choice to make, just
Yeah.
artistically. But it's crazy when you're like expecting something and then, previews, anything can happen. So it's like things could change, costumes could change, songs could change. Like really, even though Here Lies Love has been in development for so long, there's still probably so much that you guys had to adjust and adjust and rehearse all the time. And then I saw like right after opening, I was like, okay, it's frozen, it's set, everything's all good. So
Yes.
I'm so glad that you made it through, first of all, previews,
Yeah,
because it's crazy, but I mean, such a big accomplishment because like a month or so of doing it, I'm like, I don't even, it's hard when you're doing a show and then you're doing rehearsals. It's like there's so much happening. And talking about like a lot of stuff happening, like what is your backstage like traffic like for you personally? Because
Oh,
there is so much going on. There's people changing costumes pretty much every single song. And like, do you have any time to rest? Like,
yeah. It's actually really funny because Annie B. Parson, our a wonderful, wonderful choreographer, I saw her on the train once, and I was telling, and she was like, "How's backstage traffic?" I was like, "It's pretty wild." And she said, "You should put a camera backstage, and you can make a movie out of it, like a thriller movie out of our backstage." It's absolutely wild. Every time you don't see an ensemble member on stage, don't think that they're not doing anything because they're either running to a mezzanine or changing, or they're either changing their, with some of our characters like change their hair, and in 90 minutes it's a lot of story to cover, and it's a lot of different characters to cover, and it's a lot of different times of history to cover. So it really is wild. I mean, there are water breaks that we try to do, bathroom breaks not so much. So we try to make sure that the adrenaline rushes through, and that sort of part, TMI, is usually taken care of before or after the show. um,
yeah.
backstage traffic is crazy. I also handle the camera a lot, so I
Oh,
have to follow the camera where that's led, making sure that I'm in the right place when the camera starts so I can get the right feed or connectivity. And so yeah, it is actually crazy, but we all got it down to a science. Like
mhm.
if Jose running behind me, I can count down 3, 2, 1, and he'll be right there. Like everyone is down to a science. And we actually have these like pink lines on the ground where it means that you're safe to like walk and run
Mm,
um, during show hours to keep you safe. It is, it's crazy, but we have it down to a science.
yeah.
It's pretty crazy. And you've seen the show. It's like one person's here, and then one person's like 80 feet across on another mezzanine platform. So that was probably one of the hardest things in rehearsal to really navigate, was like, how are we gonna effing do this? Like, how are we gonna do this at the Broadway theater, which is a mega theater, but we got it down to a science. So
Yeah.
we figured.
Oh my goodness, especially like with swings having to learn their tracks. I'm like, how do they even learn the backstage traffic for that? I'm like, I don't even know how they're doing that. It's insane. Or like how Aaron, plays Aquino sometimes. And I'm like, what? I don't know. I'm like, yeah, there's rehearsal, but it's like still, your brain is your brain. It's like it must be so tough, like also just doing it with new people, or obviously you want to try and help them, but yeah, I'm like, Here Lies Love is like the most insane, probably backstage traffic on Broadway that I've ever seen. Just because everyone's doing something at all the time. There's no downtime for a single person.
You're right. And it's never just like, oh yeah, backstage right, backstage left. It's
It's everywhere.
all
Yeah. Yeah,
uh,
no, it's 360.
all three, which we definitely got our steps in. If you were ever wondering, public, we are getting our steps in.
Yeah, I forgot if it was Roy. I think it might have been Roy or Sarah. They were both saying, someone was saying how they wish they could have like a Fitbit on during the show, like
I
to
said,
see how much like you run or burn or calories and stuff. I'm like, I would be so intrigued if someone could like
I
hide it
know.
somewhere, or I don't even know how you would do that, but just to see physically what you're doing and doing it multiple times a day too. It's not just
Yeah.
once a day. It's like sometimes you got two shows on Saturday and Sunday, so it's like you're getting a workout in, definitely.
Oh yeah. Let me tell you, the first day I was just like, I am so annoyed that I don't have my Apple Watch on because if I had my Apple Watch, I my rings would be closed in 45 seconds. Really, honestly, it would be crazy. But I am trying to get something. Like like the in our dressing room, we're trying to figure out like how to get like a
Oh,
pedometer onto like our desks or like packs or something.
uh-huh.
We don't have steps, so we're trying
No,
to figure that
someone's gotta count it at some point, or in rehearsal or something. Um,
out.
and yeah, and then stage door experiences. I know you love stage dooring. The entire cast loves stage dooring, which I love because I've been to some stage doors where like no one will come out, and I'm like, okay, sure, you can rest, do whatever you need, but like usually at least one person will or do something, or at least it's exciting, where it's like you get to, meet someone, tell them how much the show means to you. And so what are some of your favorite stage door experiences that you've had so far?
Well, first off, I want to start off by saying with Here Lies Love in general, like our whole center is our community. And I if you've staged door before, and I can speak for myself and for a lot of other people. Everyone is just so kind and we are just so grateful for our fans and the people that come see the show. So this one person came up to me once and was just like, "This is so nice that all of you, like what you just said, like all of you come out.
Yeah.
Like every single person in the cast comes out. It means so much." And I was like, "Yeah, like we wouldn't have the show if you weren't here." You know what I mean? So that's something really special. One other specific stage door memory that I just had a couple days ago was um, this woman was crying, holding her playbill, asking us to sign it, and she said it just brought back so many memories. And like, thank you for telling our story. Like, thank you for being able to do this for our country and like do this for the people who went through it and lived through it. And even thinking about it right now is just really beautiful. And I gave her a hug. Thank you so much for coming. She was like, I'll be back. Like, and I hope everyone is able to see this because it's really changing the world. And I truly believe it. Like a 90-minute show can really do so much for so many people.
Hmm.
Um, that's when I took a step back and I was like, these are real people's like I've always known that it was real people's lives, but like being with someone who, would just coming to see a show, coming to see a Broadway show and realizing it's not about all the glitz and the glamour, it's about their story,
Yeah.
and it's never been before. So that was something really special. And my last one I'm going to share was that there was this, I think, 10-year-old kid. His name, Trevor, if you're listening to this, I don't know if you are, is I think his name was Trevor. And he was so excited to see us, and his mom was like, he wants to be just like you one day. And I almost like lost it because I was like, no, dude. I was like, dude, you are, because
Oh,
I like legitimately was you waiting with my playbill, like trying to like, and like me being 24 years old now, it's just like I know that kid like deep down, and I told him, I was like, don't give up, and we'll be on Broadway together one day.
yeah.
So that was a really special moment. Especially being an Asian American kid, I didn't have much of that like representation when I was a kid, stage dooring or like watching shows. So being able to like tell someone like, we can do this. Like we're gonna do it together. I'll see you up here one day. So that was really special for me. So
Yeah, no, I love those stories. I mean, and also so many Asian people at the stage door. If they're not Filipino, they are Asian. Like, I don't think
yeah,
I've ever seen anything like that before. And I mean, even at the K-pop stage door, there were so many like Asian people there too, like for
yeah,
K-pop, but like, and so many people also with Here Lies Love. It's like the people, want to come and see themselves on stage and see people like you. And yeah, it is so special that pretty much everyone comes out. I met almost everyone. I think I missed a few people, but it's like,
right.
making those connections, seeing these people that are just living the dream, living the Broadway dream. And, for you,
Crazy.
you're finally doing that. And what did it feel like for you to make your Broadway debut on that first night of previews and just realize like I'm here, just kind of taking in that moment?
Yes. So about making your Broadway debut that I didn't realize it goes by so fast. Like it really just goes by so fast. And I was starting the show, and I remember when the DJ in the beginning would like pressed his button and was like, "Hey, welcome to Club Millennium." I realized I was like, this packed house is here to see all of us, and this is my first time stepping on. Like I literally am shaking right now thinking about it. I was just like, I cannot believe that this is happening, but I also had to find the fine line of like staying within the show because I didn't want to like mess it up. um and like having that moment, it was just like, and then it was just full on. I bowed, and I think the moment that I realized I was like, wow, like this is actually happening was the stage door. And I think if you see on my Instagram, like there are videos of my friends and family who surprised me on my Broadway debut. At the stage door, I literally was speechless. Like, and I remember our security guard told me, he was like, take a video now because this moment is only once in a lifetime. And I was like, okay. I was like, do it again. Everyone, you can do it
Yeah.
again. So yeah, that was pretty crazy. And there was actually, I think, 8 of us making our Broadway debuts.
Hmm.
Um, Roy and Sarah included, who
Yeah,
were on the spot.
yeah, yeah. Yes.
Um, I remember we were just like, we had, we knew we had a lot more work to do, but we took the rest of that night really realizing like, wow, we did this. Like, don't forget this moment. And we were just very grateful. And I remember the whole night I was just like, yeah, I was like, just so excited.
Yeah, no, I mean the security guard was right. Like, you gotta savor those great moments when they come because, you don't know when it's gonna happen again. And for your family to be there, that's so special. And just to be seeing you live the dream, like I said, like living your dream. I mean, kids, everyone, they see a show when they're little, and then you just think like, okay, maybe I want to do this, or maybe, and seeing Asian people specifically, then you're like, oh, okay, I can actually do this. Is not like
Yeah,
far off dream. It's like, oh, okay, maybe that's a possibility for me.
yeah.
And so for you, since you're in an all Filipino cast, and you are Filipino, obviously, like how did your relationship with your culture change as you joined the show?
Oh my goodness. I would probably have to say that being with people that understood what it meant, what the journey meant for us to get there, all of us together as one unit, that sort of just made me take a step back and we're just like, wow, we really did this. Like, I know a lot of us share stories on our representation and growing up being maybe the only Filipino person in their theater club or their high school theater shows, or growing up singing in church, or even something so simple as that. It's like to have other people that are like you, that have felt you know excluded or felt different from a certain sort of a group that does that shows that they can do everything that anyone else can do, and to show that we can all do it together. Sharing that experience with Filipinos, with an all Filipino cast, um, is pretty incredible. And like little things like eating the same foods, and we're like, oh, my mom makes this at home, like can you bring it when your mom makes it? And it's like, like little things, little fun little things like that, is really fun. And being able to make history on Broadway, it's a really big responsibility. But being able to do that and also like leave the stage door and being yourself, not a character, and being able to talk to people about what that means to us, and like learning something every single day I learn something different, and
Yeah.
every single something new. And I I think that it has just brought me so much closer to my parents' life because they lived through the People Power Revolution and know about the history. And my grandmother, who came last week, which was so exciting. My Lola came last week, who also lived it. So yeah, it's crazy just like exchanging different stories in the cast and the crew and everyone who sort of has their own sort of interpretation and like storyline on how we got here at this moment in 2023 together.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I mean, for me, I'm Taiwanese, so like, definitely. But in Bakersfield, there's so many Filipino people here, and
Yeah.
I've always been exposed to Filipino culture, and like I keep telling everyone, like there's one, special person in my life who she's like my second mom, and so she would make us Filipino food pretty much in our entire childhood. Like, and apparently her kids also did not like it, which I was like, what? But like we loved it, like me and my brother. And so, she's always, that was like our exposure to it. But then I realized when I saw the show, I was like, I never asked her why she immigrated, why, all about those things. And so like we were just hanging out with them yesterday, and so I finally got to ask her all those questions. And like, talk more about her culture. And she was like, oh, hearing about, the show and how that's so cool that there's so many, Filipino people in it, especially having Lea Salonga lead it. It's just unique. It's not been done before, and you can only hope that for other cultures too, and for the rest of people, because so we can all feel included too, because hearing all your stories about food and stuff, I'm like, oh, that would be so cool to be a part of, and like in some way, in like a different show or something, where it's like
Yeah.
you just have that feeling of belonging. I think as performers, we never, Asian performers, we don't feel that so often, because usually we are the different person, or that's not intentional, but we do feel excluded, just because of how we look or how we are and different foods that we eat. And so hearing all the good stories about the cast being so close and learning more about your parents, I'm like, that is so special, and I'm just so happy for you for that.
Uh,
Yeah.
so much. Yeah. And I think that it shows the industry and it shows legitimately the world that it should be done more.
Yeah.
Like, and there's people out there who have stories that they want to tell, and we need to we need, if we can do it, you can do it. It's the time to really open that up, and
I think Here
and
Lies Love is like at the forefront of that right now, like showing what Broadway can be, and it can be commercially successful as well. It can actually do really well. People will love it. People will see it and want to learn more. I know I've been doing so much research on the show and about history, just like because I didn't know. No one ever taught me that in school. And I don't know about like if you knew when you were little, or if it was a little thing, like something that you had to learn later on, but it's like the fact that we didn't know it is insane, or just because it's so intertwined with even American history, where you watch it and you're like, what? How did this even happen? How did we not know about it? How is just so many questions, first of all. And so, like, when you do the show every night and you're, living out your full self as a Filipino person, like, what do you hope that audience members, whether they be Filipino or non-Filipino, what do you hope that they take and learn from Here Lies Love?
I think, well, one, a lot of things should be done in a 90-minute disco because you learn a lot. um, that and that remembering that power and money and glamour isn't everything in life. It might come to you in life and it might happen to you, but you know what? There are people behind that, and you have to remember to, honestly, in anything in life, is just to be kind, to really listen to people, to really think selflessly but selfishly at the same time. I think that people should realize that history can repeat itself, and it has repeated itself. Um, at the end of the show, the DJ, who, I don't want to spoil anything, but that is one of the lines, that history repeats itself,
Hmm.
and that what happened to those people is real, and to respect other people's stories and to tell it with true honesty. So honesty and kindness is something that I think that people should really take away from the show, and I think a lot of people have taken that from the show. So I I hope that that continues its legacy and more people learn more things about these stories that are really important to tell.
Yeah, and definitely with how it's repeating with Bong Bong and everything, and it's definitely real. Imelda is still living. She is still a person in, existing in the world, where it's not like it happened hundreds of years ago. It's very recent. And the fact that we're finally getting to tell everyone about it is just definitely needed to happen, because I think even for myself being Taiwanese, I didn't know that much. I need to look more into Taiwanese history, because no one's gonna teach it to me. I have to look for it. Same thing with like Filipino history. I had no idea about all of these tough things. And so like yeah, just the show is so beautiful. It's fun. It's a disco, but it's definitely, you're supposed to leave knowing something, especially, with the last song. I'm like, okay, this is what it's really all about, when you all are just coming out, standing there singing, and you have the backdrop of the mural. It's just, again, it's a powerful moment. And so I hope people see that part of Here Lies Love too, instead of just the fun disco part of it, because
Yeah.
they work together and very, very well. They do work together. And yeah, again, I've said it a million times how special this show is and how it's a new kind of Broadway, and that's what we're trying to do is like to create something new. And for you, like, what is your advice to Filipino and Asian American youth wanting to pursue the arts?
I think me speaking for myself and my own experience being a little Filipino kid is that you don't have to change yourself in order for you to move mountains. Truly, I swear on my life to anyone listening, you can do legitimately anything you want in this world. Just be kind to yourself, kind to others, make sure that you don't take things too seriously, and remember that your time will come. Patience, patience, patience is everything. Um, and to, of course, manifest your dreams and just hold on to them and don't let anyone tell you no. Because if I let the people that told me that I couldn't do something make me believe that, then I wouldn't be where I am today. Being able to say that, oh, I have a show, I have a Broadway show in a few hours, in 2, 3 hours, So, um, it really is crazy. It's just patience and never stop working for it. And if you love it and you know it's right for you, do not give up. Like, I know that sounds so cliche, but it genuinely, do not give up. It's a really beautiful thing to be able to do something that you love every single day. Like, really own that. Like, own it from your heart.
Yeah, well, that's perfect advice. I love that so much. And I know we touched a little bit about this, but what does it mean to you to finally be playing specifically Filipino, since you have been in shows like The King and I,
Yes.
and you've done, I think every Asian person has probably, played a different Asian than who they are. And so, what does it feel like to really finally just be you?
I, words really can't describe it. And I remember talking to Leia about it before we went on stage one night, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm actually playing like a Filipino." And I was like, "Are you sure like Leia Salonga hasn't played a Filipino like on stage before?" And she was like, "No, like I've never gone to." And like, think about her career, right? Like since she was 17 years old, and us it leading it to now, like us all doing it together, being it just means so much. Like it couldn't have happened at a better time. It couldn't have happened in a better way. One is gratitude, right? Like when are you ever gonna be able to say that you did that as a person of color, or like as an Asian American performer? Um, but I think what it is that because I can do it, that another person, when they do another production somewhere else, or when they do it regionally, or even a community theater, if they do a Here Lies Love community theater somewhere, that they'll see how important it is to really hone in on, like, this is a Filipino story, and you're gonna cast Filipino people to tell it. And I think that that's a conversation that we have to open up. Like, yes, I am proud to say that I did do The King and I, but The King and I is not based in the Philippines. Like I had to play a different sort of Asian character, and a lot of us have those stories, but to be able to like put our foot down and be like, no, I'm gonna be Filipino, and I'm proud to tell the story, and I'm proud to show other Filipinos that like this is what it's all about. Being your authentic self and doing it with pride and knowing that it's a huge responsibility and it's important to people. That's something that I really feel for that question.
Yeah, no, and I love how in 2023 with this show, we're finally doing it with an all Filipino cast, because 10 years ago, not everyone was a Filipino. Like, there were some people, and some people were Chinese, Korean. There's a lot of different things. Even the original Imelda was Korean. And then,
Yes.
JJ was also, in it, finally having a Filipino person play her. And then, I think it just kept progressed into what it is now, where, you're finally all together, all doing it, and it's just so rewarding. I'm hoping for all of you, because it's, yeah, something you should definitely be so proud of, because that's kind of how the world has changed too. It's like we realize that that's truly what's important, is playing yourself. And you don't have to play yourself, it's acting, but representing yourself is definitely something that all actors should do at least once, where they get to fully put themselves into a role and not feel like it's such a stretch or it's something that you need to fit. It's like, oh, it just does. You don't have to try so hard to make it happen.
Yeah.
Uh, and a fun question, like, what is your favorite Filipino food right now? Because that is so hard. But for me, it's definitely like the Filipino grilled pork belly,
Oh
um,
my
with
God.
rice, and like it's so good. I can't believe it.
Well, I have rice every day. I don't know about you, Ashley, but I have to have rice every single day.
I have it every day, but I definitely have it a lot.
Rice is always a staple, but forever will be my mom's. I don't know if you've had chicken tinola.
I
If
don't.
you have, you have to. It's like a
I'll
ginger.
ask.
It's
I have to
like it's
ask. Yeah.
the list. Or when you come back to Here Lies Love, we will figure out how you get. We'll get tinola. Um, that's really good. But like, of course, there's like. I hope that you've had lumpia. Have you
Of
had lumpia?
course.
Okay,
Yes, of
yes,
course. That's
classic,
like the
classic.
iconic one. That's like that's the one that everyone knows. It's like it's just so
Everyone
good.
knows. Yes.
Yeah, everyone knows like pancit, adobo, lumpia.
And
That's like the trio of
um,
like what people know.
you can't go. You gotta go with the basics. Back to the basics, but it's really really yummy.
Yeah,
Honestly.
yeah. No, I mean, I always remember like going to parties with like lots of Filipino people and they'd have like a lechon and I was like, "Oh, okay, I see what this is." Like how yeah, it was like at first I think I was a little confused when I was little, but then I was like, "Okay, this is great. I love it." So, yeah.
Yes, that's how we do it.
Yeah. No, and for like with the cast, I've heard that you guys have had like so much food. I
Oh
think
gosh.
Sarah was saying that you guys need to get like some Tupperware to like take it home. Because I'm
Yes.
like, I don't know if that's the best thing to eat before a show. Sometimes, like, it depends on who you are and what you like to do. But I'm like, definitely you gotta just keep bringing it home. Because Filipino food is so good. It's literally like one of the best things in the whole world. I'm like,
Yes, we have our own top like each of our dressing rooms we have like good store like the good thing about the Broadway theater is that there's a lot of storage space. There's actually like a good amount of space. We yes, if anyone was curious, we do have our own Tupperwares because everyone always feeds us. We are always fed at Here Lies Love. So if anyone was wondering if we weren't, we are.
yeah, yeah. No, that I mean that's like an Asian thing. Like, did you eat? Did you eat? Like before hello, it's like, did you
First
eat?
question.
That's the first question. It's like it's not how are you? It's asking the question of love. Like, did you eat?
I'm not
So
saying
yeah.
it. We are very happy to take all the food, take all the
Yeah, no, definitely. And just to wrap it up a little, like, what does representation mean to you if you had to put it in like a few sentences? Like, what does it mean to you?
I think representation opens the doors for people who feel like they don't belong somewhere. I feel like seeing yourself somewhere can start so many points of your life that will lead you to have fire and drive and determination to be something more than what others think that you can be. And I think that this show right now of representation has been the greatest gift and the greatest vessel for myself to share that with other people. And I think not only for Filipinos, but just for people who felt different their whole lives and seeing that if this group of people can do it, why can't I? And I think that's really, really, really important. Like shows like, unfortunately, I didn't get to see K-pop, but like even shows like K-pop, like that was really freaking cool. Like, and I'm, of course, it didn't have the longest run, but like that was something that was like I was really looking forward to, and now like hopefully that we're past the torch to sort of do that for other people, and hopefully and it can be successful, and it can however long we run, it'll touch people's lives, and I
Mhm.
really hope that people take that with them and realize that representation does matter and that it should be taken very seriously and carefully with like a good heart and an honest heart.
Yeah, I know I've definitely felt that. A lot of other Asian people, whether they're performers or not, have always felt that. That is just kind of what it's been, for us and
Oh,
to see
oh,
so much joy on stage too. is again so great because it is a very hard story to talk about, with Here Lies Love. But again, there are so many numbers where everyone's smiling, everyone's dancing, whether it
Yeah,
be like, it's just to see Asian joy, Filipino joy is so special. And even talking about K-pop, I mean, you're in the show with one of the people from K-pop now, like, because I'm like, we got Julia Bueva doing both, like getting to
that's-
in being K-pop as a Filipino woman and then getting to be a Filipino person in Here Lies Love too. It's like there's so many options for us now where there weren't before, and definitely, you know,
just
it's so
like
so cool.
it is so cool. And Julia Bueva, oh my god, a star. Like
Yeah.
shout out to
Yes,
um
I love
not
her.
any, but when one day it'll come, we'll figure it out, come back and maybe she'll do it again. But but I'd love to see that.
Yeah, yeah. No, and to end, like, how can everyone support you, whether it be on social media or just any other things that you're doing? Like, kind of plug, do whatever you want, and say kind of how everyone can support you.
Yeah, follow me on Instagram, at flores.tm. If you have any questions about, you know, being in the business or something like that, I'm still starting in the business, so maybe we can like talk about it together. Yeah, I don't know. I'm in a little show called Here Lies Love at the Broadway Theater, so come on, check that out. Um, and be sure to check out this podcast every single whenever you post. Broadway Corner, baby. We are true fans at Here Lies Love, so I
Oh,
hope
thank
everyone
you.
really.
Yeah, thank you so much. No, and also I just looked up tinola. I have had that. I have like the Tita Gigi. She has made it like when I was sick, and everything. So I was like, okay, I didn't know the name of it, but I was like, oh right, okay, I see. But again, thank you so much, Tim, for being here. Thank you for being on the podcast. Please, everyone, make sure to follow him. Follow Here Lies Love. Get your tickets because you never know when they're gonna sell out forever. So. Just make sure, sit everywhere. Moses was saying that there should be a punch card for sitting in each
Yes.
spot. I was like, that's
Doing
genius.
other.
I was
Have
like,
you before, right?
huh?
You've been on.
Floor? Yes, I did it the second time. Yeah, on the floor.
Well, I'll see you like around. I don't know if you've done like rear mez or front mez, but
I
you
did
should
the
do that.
front. I did rear mez. No, yeah, rear mez on like the left side. So it was like, I had to experience both, and hopefully, like punch cards. I keep saying will make people come back, make people
All
want to
right, that
see it.
Ashley. Don't.
Like be messaging the social media teams and
Well,
teams. No, seriously. But yeah, thank you so much, Tim, for being here. Thank you for everyone listening. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram and everything, YouTube, Spotify, TikTok. I don't really care, just whatever. And thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.
thank you so much. Bye.
You've been listening to Broadway Corner with Ashley Ha. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.